So, Final Fantasy II. Whenever someone makes a Final Fantasy tier list to bait easy views, haha, having views, imagine that. So, whenever someone tries to rank Final Fantasy games, 2 is always fighting at the bottom with 13, and sometimes 8, depending on who you're talking to. And when this video is done, I'm gonna find out exactly why. I'm perfectly aware that the number one complaint everybody has heard of is the controversial leveling and combat system. Normally, I highlight or critique these kinds of things as they come up naturally during the playthrough, but in this case, I'm breaking tradition to address the behemoth in the room right away. The progression system is actually very similar to something like the Elder Scrolls, meaning you level up what you use the most. If you get hit a lot, you gain more maximum HP. If you cast spells frequently, your MP pool increases. If you prefer to use axes, your axe attack will grow stronger, and so on. And just like in the Elder Scrolls, this encourages people to play like an idiot in an attempt to exploit the game. Or at least it used to be. This game has been ported several times now, and every time there's all kinds of balance changes. After analyzing and thinking about it for a while, I have narrowed down my issues with the system to 3 main points. First, what I would call a lack of transparency. You just don't know what is happening at the end of each battle. There is not enough information to help you understand how your characters are progressing. Level ups feel random, and skill increases come as a surprise. Weapon skills and spells do have visible progress bars, but they're vague and don't clearly communicate what's affecting them. Worse, there are invisible thresholds that stall your growth without explanation. You're also limited in how much you can improve during a single battle, but there is no way to know where those limits are. Spell effects are similarly unclear. You might have to refer to external guides or wikis just to figure out what leveling a certain spell actually does. Some of them stop being useful past a certain level and become a waste of time. One simple way to improve this would have been a post-battle breakdown, something like you earn 10% of the way towards +1 strength. And if they didn't want to clutter the screen with too much information, they could have made it an option accessible with a button press during the XP gain screen or something. Second, it feels like the system rewards mistakes and at times punishes strategy. For example, I made the huge mistake of giving Maria a bow but forgot to place her in the back row. Instead of being punished for my tactical oversight, she ended up with an unusually high HP pool, just from taking the hits she shouldn't have been taking. On the flip side, I started Firion as a sword and shield character, but over time he fell behind in both strength and HP. His high evasion didn't feel like it made a major difference, especially by the late game. The extra agility helped with running from battles, I suppose, but not much else. What I'm getting at is this: trying to engage with the system thoughtfully can backfire, or simply not matter at all. This perfectly leads into the third problem, and probably the most important, which is depth doesn't matter. All these stats, spells, and systems might seem complex and deep, but they barely affect the core experience. Only a few enemies pose a real threat, and you might get tripped up by a badly timed status effect. But for most of the game, brute forcing through battles with the basic attack command works just fine. If I were a glass half full kind of person, I would say there's potential for fun here. Now that I understand the system better, I could see myself trying to optimize it. Choosing the right spells, planning builds, experimenting with setups, stuff like that. And if I ever replay this game, even if it's not happening anytime soon, I'll probably still enjoy tinkering with the system, crafting my own ideal skill distribution. Even if, deep down, I know it's completely unnecessary. Well, After that downer of an introduction, let's not lose our spirits and start actually playing. First, we'll be prompted to select the main characters' names. Final Fantasy II is also famous for being the first game to have non-generic characters and a somewhat ambitious story for 1988. The intro shows the evil emperor, war, and the rise of a rebellion. You know, that thing that happens in Fantasyland every other day. At least this game can claim it was one of the first ones to do it. In the next scene, we'll be forced to fight an unwinnable battle. Is this another first? I think it is. After getting stomped by Black Knights, Firion, our main character, gets revived and reunites with his friends Maria and Guy. But it seems that Maria's brother is dead or missing. We try to convince the Queen to let us join the rebellion. But the important thing is that this is the first time we will see the keyword system in action. Basically, when a character mentions something important, highlighted in red, we have to use the menu to learn that keyword, and later we can use that to interact with characters and advance the story. It sounds simple, and it is, but I still managed to fuck it up a number of times, which led to a fair bit of backtracking and getting lost. Also, this game is, like a YouTube philosopher once said, it's one of those where the fuck do I go type of games. Yeah, you know the kind that make you say, where the fuck do I go? So I am just going to up the counter by like 5 so we can focus on the game. Our first mission is going to the invaded town of Fynn as scouts, but I took my sweet time to get there so I could fight, explore the map, and grind some money to afford magic tomes. When I finally entered the town of Fynn, the first rule is that you're not supposed to speak to the guard NPCs. They are really powerful, and even if you beat them, they won't go away. We have to find a way into the bar, and once inside, we have to speak the keyword to the bartender to enter the secret room. In there, we'll meet Prince Scott, that will drop dead right away, and give Firion his ring. When you return to Altair, you can talk to Gordon, Scott's brother, and show him the ring for a bit of extra lore. After delivering the bad news to Hilda, it's kinda neat how Firion respects Scott and spares Hilda's feelings. Little character details like that can go a long way. Anyways, she'll accept us and give us our first official mission as rebels. We need to travel to the town of Salamand and retrieve Mythril. Also, Mingwu, the White Wizard, will join the party. And he will give us the canoe, so the group can cross rivers in the world map. Mingwu has a boatload of white magic spells at a very high level, which is really cool because usually the 4th slot party members are kinda lame skill-wise. Using the canoe, we can easily get to the town of Palum to the east. Right at the entrance, a sailor NPC will rent you a boat. The boat will appear on the world map and will automatically land us on the port of Poft. You can find this game's seed in the bar there to learn a new keyword, and you can also rent an airship if you have enough money. From Poft, we can walk to the north until we reach Salamand near the snowy mountains. Once there, Joseph doesn't want to help until we rescue people being forced to work by the Empire in Semit Falls. To get to that cave, we need to take the small river path to the southwest. And eventually you'll make it in. Now, this is the first actual dungeon in the game and oh boy! It seems they doubled down on the bad decisions from Final Fantasy I. Dungeon layouts are bigger, more confusing, and above all, with more dead ends. And this time, the empty rooms are their own separate screens, so I can't even peek into them with the minimap like I used to in the previous game. And the default encounter rate is absolutely bonkers. When normies complain about the encounter rates on JRPGs, this is the game they're talking about. All these little complaints I just made apply for the whole game. Anyway, eventually we will reach Paul along with Joseph's daughter and other prisoners, and set them free. We only need to delve a little deeper to find the final boss, which is just a generic soldier, and behind him we have the Mythril. Somewhere in the cave there's a teleport spellbook, and you can use it to exit the dungeon immediately. Man, I really do love teleport. So now we travel all the way back to Altair to present Hilda with the Mythril. We can take this to the local blacksmith to upgrade the weapon shop. What the game doesn't tell you is that weapon shops in other cities are also upgraded, so if you want something like the Mythril bow, for example, you'll have to walk to Balloon. Next, Hilda will send us to Bavsk to find out about the Imperial Dreadnought and how to destroy it. To get there, we'll have to travel to the port again, take the ship again, and then travel east. Why does a random citizen know about the secret rebel plan? Whatever. We have to find the correct soldier and whisper the magic keyword to be granted access to the cave. This dungeon is pretty short, and at the end we will confront the Dark Knight and Borgen. It seems we are too late. The Dreadnought has been finished and has started attacking. Don't forget that on your way back you can enter this room to gather a pass and a teleporter that will take you back to the city. On our way back to Altair, we'll see how all the cities are now very damaged by the Dreadnought. When we talk to Hilda, Mingwu will leave to take care of the king. Our only clue is that we need to ask Sid. Thankfully, we already know where he is. When we reach him, be sure to learn the keywords Sunfire. And then we have to go back to Altair again. Hilda will tell us the location of the Sunfire, but we can't just take it with our hands. Speaking to Mingwu and the king, we find out that we need a special torch to carry the Sunfire, and we also need a special item called the Goddess Bell. Hilda knows the bell is in a place called the Ice Cave. We have to speak to Joseph all the way back in Salamand, but to enter the Ice Cave we need to retrieve the Snowcraft, which is hidden inside Semit Falls. Now Joseph will join the party. He's built like a traditional monk and he's pretty strong, so there's no need to give him equipment or spells. At least the spot we're looking for is pretty close to the entrance. It took me a small while to find the precise spot on the wall, but we'll get that Snowcraft without many problems. With our new transportation, we can explore the snow-covered north and reach the cave. Once inside, we will find Ice Team enemies and lots of undead. And I should have mentioned this before, but this is the first game in the series that allows you to multi-target spells. The damage spread is pretty bad most of the time, but not always. Eventually, we will find a dead end in a room full of beavers. And here it is, the moment of the game. This moment alone mocks the totality of Final Fantasy 16. Okay. This is as high as characterization goes for dear old guy. They even made a magic card for it. Also, it's obligatory to mention that the Beavers were supposed to be the first incarnation of Muggles, but they didn't make it into the final version of the game. After all that, we'll find the boss, Adamantoise. Even if this is just another glorified normal enemy, it stands out because of two reasons. First, it has above average defense, and since my party was kinda stretched thin because I was leveling both physical and magical at the same time, my normal attacks couldn't scratch it. And second, you should have seen my face when I realized turtles are weak to ice, when I was consciously training fire spells because I was going to a dungeon called the Ice Cave. Anyway, we'll get the Goddess's Bell. On the way out, we'll fight Borgen, He's really weak and goes down fast. But he sets an Indiana Jones style trap and Joseph does the noble sacrifice. Yeah, 4th slot party members, not the luckiest of people in this game. So I went all the way back to talk to Hilda, and this is going to reach pre-return to the Waking Suns meme status if it keeps going. Long story short, I paid money to Sid to fly me to Kashuan Keep. Using the bell, we can open the main door and we'll soon find Gordon, who will join the party. Give him whatever items you can spare and keep moving forward. After defeating the worst boss ever, take the torch, and then take the flame. As soon as we set foot outside, we'll be treated to a cinematic. The Dreadnought has captured Hilda and Sid, and now we have to rescue them. You have two alternatives. You can enter the Chocobo Forest and use one of them to cross the dangerous desert, or you can go to Altair and walk north. I took the second option because I'm an idiot that didn't notice the Chocobo Forest even if it was incredibly obvious. Whatever way you choose to get there, right at the entrance you can show the pass we got earlier, or we can pick a fight. But there doesn't seem to be any consequences for either method. After exploring a little bit, we can find Sid and the princess and let them out of their cell, but we can't leave until we destroy the Dreadnought using the Sunfire. We can find the room we need by going downstairs on the southeastern corner of the map, and when we continue on, we'll get to this very, very bad room. You see, if we interact with the guards, we'll trigger a fight, just like in the city, but even if we win, the NPCs will remain there. Not only that, but they are solid, and they are placed in just a way to make this room a maze. At first I thought it was a bug, but no, it just works that way. Finally, the encounter rate just broke me on this one, so I turned it off. In the next screen, we'll reach the center and we can use the Sunfire to end the dungeon. The Dark Knight shows up just to insult the team, and Maria drops the biggest hint ever. I mean, if it wasn't obvious already. Anyway, there will be a long sequence of the party running away before the explosion. I have to mention that if you're going for 100% completion, better make sure you looted all the chests before ending this. When we return to base, the king passes away after giving us a new mission. We need to travel to Dazed and gain the support of the Dragoons. Before we leave, we can visit Hilda and see she's behaving strangely. We need a boat to reach Dazed, and very conveniently a pirate lady in Palum offers us a ride on her ship. Our very naive Firion accepts the offer, and then we beat the hell out of the pirates. Also, Layla is now the fourth character. Thankfully, I didn't get lost this time because Dazed Island is conveniently shaped like a dragon. Sadly, once we get there, we realize that the Dragoons and their wyverns have been wiped out by the Empire. Only one of the creatures is left, but we can't talk to it. We can travel to the nearby cave and retrieve the pendant that will allow us to talk with the last wyvern. Thankfully, it's pretty close to the entrance. When we return, the sick wyvern dies and asks that we take the last surviving egg into the life spring. So we return to the cave we just visited and take the other way. Be careful with that bridge, that was certainly a surprise. But you can use warp to get back up in case you missed something before falling. That's why you don't sleep on warp. Well, after yet another disappointing boss fight, I mean, it's just 4 chimeras, man. You didn't even try. Anyway, we put the egg in the water and leave. We did the right thing, but we returned to Altair empty-handed. When we approach the queen, she wants some alone time with Firion. but it turns out it was a Lamia this whole time. The rest of the group jumps in and we have a boss battle. Right after the battle ends, a messenger walks in with the information that Princess Hilda is a prize for a tournament being held in the Imperial Coliseum. This place is right in the desert we tried to avoid not long ago, but this time we are strong enough to travel there. We enter the Coliseum and of course it was an obvious trap. The gates close and we are forced to fight the first appearance of Behemoth in the Final Fantasy series. Sadly, he was also a pushover. After we win, we take the chance to attack the Emperor, but he teleports away and we end up in jail. Our friend Paul will show up and open our cell, but we are the ones that have to find the princess. When we rescue Hilda, she and Gordon will leave first. Thankfully, we don't have to go all the way back to Altair, as we realize the rebellion has set a camp and started the assault to retake Castle Finn. This time the gates of the castle are down and we can make our way inside. The wisest move is just walk straight towards the throne and fight the boss. Right after he goes down, Hilda and Gordon will sit on the throne. The next mission is going to Mysidia, a city of mages, and unlocking Mysidia Tower to get the ultimate magic. Be sure to learn the new keywords and ask Hilda and Gordon about them. Long story short, we are going to need 2 masks, one which is inside the castle but is behind a secret door. We can solve this by finding our friend Paul back in the town of Finn. With his advice, we can find the next dungeon and retrieve the first mask. This is the part where I usually get lost, but the Mysidian Tower is really hard to miss. Of course, the doors are closed for now. The actual city of Mysidia is not far from there. They have really good magic and equipment for sale. And by this point we have plenty of gil to spend. Now it's time to do the RPG thing and talk to people, read books and get some hints about what to do next. It's pretty clear we had to put the white mask on the statue in the city, but after that I just don't know what to do. And I did go into the cave of Mysidia only to get stuck halfway through because I didn't have the other mask. Turns out the black mask is on this little lonely island at the south of the world. The game did drop the hint, but I completely missed it. The island even has a little town inside the dungeon. At the end we can pick up the mask. Then we can use the mask on the little doppelganger and advance until we finally get the key to the tower, the crystal rod. After that big list of fetch quests, we can finally enter the... Fuck. Turns out the tower has a security system. If we get near while having a crystal rod, you get eaten by Leviathan. Inside this new dungeon, we'll eventually meet a bunch of other survivors, including the first Dragoon of the Final Fantasy saga, Ricard. It's kinda funny to think that crystal rods are just being handed out while we had to work so much for it. Anyways, with Ricard's help, we fight another boss and find a new ship to escape the Leviathan. After all that work, the tower is finally unlocked. And this dungeon fucking sucks, man. Okay, it's not really all that different from previous dungeons, but it's just too damn long. At least there's a few mid-bosses to break up the pace. At the end, we'll find Minwu, who I guess also had a crystal rod. Whatever. To break the final sealed door, Minwu puts all his soul into a final Kamehameha, and then dies. Ricard, my boy, you still got some time. It's not too late to leave. Past the door, there's a few stat buffs and the ultimate magic, the now classic Ultima. I do have to say that this never comes up again in the plot. As a matter of fact, I never taught the spell to anyone, it makes no difference at all. When we return, in a big plot twist, Altair and the surrounding towns have been destroyed. When we walk near Finn, we can see a huge tornado. consulting with Hilda and Gordon, it seems we have to enter the Cyclone, the assumption being that the Emperor is somehow inside. I mean, it is true, but that's quite a leap in logic to make, just jump inside a tornado. Thankfully, this is when the Wyvern egg comes into play. People that already have explored the castle might have noticed the mirror room. By using the pendant on it, we can summon the newborn Wyvern, and the last Dragoon is conveniently with us. In this part, I have to mention that you're supposed to go to Paul's house and talk to him about the Cyclone before summoning the Wyvern, or you'll miss your window to get the Blood Sword, which is the most powerful weapon in the game. The Blood Sword basically does percentage damage, and nobody is immune, not even the final boss. So I just missed all that and killed my chances to get all achievements, but let's just continue with the story. The baby Wyvern takes us inside the Cyclone, which has a castle inside. I'm not going to question that. We go through the dungeon, and at the end, the Emperor himself is waiting for us. I am legally obligated to make a David Bowie in Labyrinth reference here.
What kind of magic spell do you?
After an actually nice boss fight, the Emperor finally dies. We return to Fynn to spread the news. There's celebration, dancing parties and everything. But yet again, a messenger interrupts with bad news. The Dark Knight has declared himself as the new Emperor and prepares to wage war once again. This time we need to end it all by attacking the Imperial capital directly, but the only way to get there is by air. If we go to Paul's house, we'll see Sid that lets us use his airship and then dies. I didn't even know he was sick. That kinda came out of nowhere. With the airship in our hands, we can finally go anywhere in the world. You can drop into Deist to visit the mom and her son, so Ricard has a nice little scene with them. When you finally feel ready, we can use the airship to enter the castle of Palamecia. When we arrive at the throne room, we get a bunch of twists in a row. First, as most people have guessed, the Dark Knight is none other than Leon, Maria's brother. It seems that a battle is about to start, but the moment is interrupted by the Emperor coming back from hell. You know, that's actually pretty metal, I'm not going to question it. Fulfilling his role as a fourth party member, Ricard sacrifices himself to let everyone else escape. Back at Fynn Castle, after a small discussion, Leon will join the group as the final fourth member. When we go outside, the world map will auto-scroll to show us where the entrance to hell is. You know, that feature could have been really helpful before. Better late than never, I guess. If we want a little extra drama, we can return to Deist with the bad news about Ricard. At least we will get Excalibur at the end of the scene. The ending will be 2 very long dungeons back to back, so we need to get all our stuff ready before we enter the Jade Passage. One good tip was equipping everyone with the spell Osmose. You see, I didn't do it because traditionally draining spells are not very effective on Final Fantasy games. But not in here, I was wrong. Osmose is very good at keeping your resources up and carrying everyone to the end. While going through the Jade Passage, keep an eye out for the Magic Tome Salesman, where you can pick up extra copies of Flare and other black magic. Eventually, we'll be ported to our final destination, the Castle of Pandemonium. Some enemies can hit for a lot, so don't let your guard down. The best part of the dungeon is when we reach the room with the 4 doors, because in those 4 segments every chest has the best equipment in the game, but also is protected by a different mini-boss. The sword Masamune is also hidden behind this fake wall, and last but not least, there is a secret boss, the Iron Giant. When you beat him, you'll get a Genji armor for your troubles. I guess I got lucky. I wasn't even trying to fight him. There's less than a 2% chance of it spawning. After everything is said and done, we'll finally reach the Emperor and brace for the last boss difficulty spike. And without super broken level ups or broken items like the Blood Sword, he really did put on a big fight. It felt like I was doing very low damage every turn, but slow and steady won the race at the end. The group returns to Fynn once more to celebrate their victory, and I was praying that no messenger was going to bust in with more bad news. I really didn't have another dungeon in me by that point. There was this neat moment during the ending where Leon refuses to pretend everything was going to be happy and nice for him after all the things he did, which was a small but very solid bit of character. Well, that's it. Final Fantasy II is done. Just like with Final Fantasy I, I know a lot of people resent that this remaster doesn't include extra content from previous ports. In this case, Soul of Rebirth, which is kind of an extra story chapter, where we control Minwu and the other dead guys for a while. That would have been a nice extra, but it's not really vital. Also, I do have to mention that the remastered soundtrack went really hard on this one. So, after having had some time to digest the whole thing, I really do understand why people rank it so low. But to me, the leveling and combat systems, as flawed as they are not really that bad. But when you couple them with the obnoxious dungeon design and the high encounter rates and the lack of variety, then I'm really like, I kinda get it. This is really one of those games that is not that long, but it feels really long. And yet, I don't really hate it. Those are others that hopefully we'll never have to talk about. Anyway, see you on the next one.